Hello, everybody. This is Jared Watson here, and this is the first episode of my new podcast. In this podcast, we talk all about MLB baseball. We talk about trade rumors, free agent signings, and spring training as we get set for the 2019 season. And I hope everyone is having a good week. And the weekend is finally here. It is Friday, February 15th. Hope you're all going to have a fun weekend, and baseball is back. Pitchers and catchers are reporting, and position players are reporting soon. That is very exciting, and we are underway. So what are we going to talk about in this podcast? We're going to talk about Luis Severino signing a 4-year extension with the Yankees. We're going to talk about possible suits for free agent third baseman Mike Moustakas. We're going to talk about Manny Machado and Bryce Harper rumors. Where should they go? Who should they sign with? And we're going to talk about Yangervis Solarte going to the Giants, Xavier Cedeno going to the Cubs, and Chris Davis on how he can get back to his old self. So first of all, let's talk about what everybody else is. Let's talk about Manny and Bryce. Manny and Bryce Harper are still unsigned. They still don't have a team. Sources say that the San Diego Padres have talked to Manny in his hometown of Miami. Manny Machado wants to be a Yankee. There's no way around it. He wants to be a Yankee. It was reported the other day that he was going to get somewhere around 8 years with around $220 million from the Yankees. And the Yankees are pretty much saying, you're either going to take this or we're not even going to worry about you. The Yankees don't necessarily need Manny Machado. They have signed Troy Tulowitzki. They have Didi Gregorius coming back, and they got the two rookies, Gleyber Torres and Miguel Andujar. So the Yankees don't really need Manny Machado. But Manny has made it known that he wants to be a Yankee if the price was right. And it was also reported that the Chicago White Sox actually offered Manny a deal for around the same length, 7 to 8 years, but for $270 million. So here's the question for Manny. Do you go to the Chicago White Sox for $270 million and go to a rebuilding team who will be good in, I would say, like 3 to 4 years? Or do you go to the New York Yankees, who are going to the postseason, are ready to win now? They're ready to win a world championship. They have stacked their team up even more than last year. Do you go to the New York Yankees for $50 million less? Do you really want to go to the Yankees? Because if you do, the offer's there. It's on the table. Boom. Sign it. Done. Do you really want to go to the Yankees for $50 million less? I don't know. I'm not Manny Machado. But we'll see. And the thing is, if he does go to New York, that means you have an infield problem. You got Tulowitzki, who's going to be at third until Gregorius comes back. And when Gregorius comes back, what are you going to do with Manny? You're going to put him at third? He wants to play shortstop. And what baffles me is that he's so good at third. He's a platinum glover at third, for Pete's sake. But he wants to be a shortstop. So when Didi comes back, Manny will most likely be moving to third, which means Tulowitzki would either be a super utility player on the bench, or he will possibly go to first base. I don't think he's ever played first base, but I'm sure they could convert him to first base. But then what are you going to do with Miguel Andujar? What are you going to do with Luke Voit or Greg Bird? See, these are all the things that you got to prepare for ahead of time before you offer somebody a contract. And I'm sure Manny's thinking about it too, because he's made it clear, and he's made it quite clear, that he wants to be a shortstop. But if you go to the White Sox, on the other hand, they have Tim Anderson at short, and I'm pretty sure Tim Anderson can slide over to third. It's what Tim Beckham did with the Orioles in 2018. Tim Beckham moved from shortstop to third base. So I would think if Manny wants to play shortstop and his heart is dead set on it, then a better fit would be the Chicago White Sox. Now, the White Sox have done everything in their power to sign Manny Machado. They signed his brother-in-law, Yonder Alonso. Excuse me, they traded for Yonder. They traded for Yonder Alonso. But they also got one of Manny's best friends, John Jay, to free agency. Now, if you think this is all a coincidence, you're out of your mind. Okay? You're out of your mind. The Chicago White Sox did this for a reason. They did it for a reason. So are they going to go after Manny? Are they going to make that big push? They've offered him $270 million already. And they're going to be good in 3 to 4 years. And they also got their young rookie, Eloy Jimenez, who is coming up, who's going to be a great prospect. So these are the things that Manny has to, figure out by himself. Does he really want to be a Yankee and take $50 million less? If I was Manny, I would personally go with the Chicago White Sox because I have certainty. I have certainty that I'm going to play shortstop. Nobody's going to be coming back from injury to take my place. But we will see. Also, it has been reported that the San Diego Padres have made a very aggressive offer to Manny Machado. They met in Miami. San Diego is also in their rebuild. You don't really have a set shortstop yet until Fernando Tatis comes up from the minors, which could be later in this season, by the way. So, if I'm the San Diego Padres, do I make a push for Manny Machado? Knowing that Fernando Tatis is coming up sooner rather than later to be your everyday shortstop? Maybe. Because you still have a hole at third base. So do you try to put Fernando Tatis at third? Or do you convince Manny that you have one of the best farm systems in baseball right now? Maybe that'll convince him to come. But if Fernando Tatis is called up in the middle of the season, let's say he comes up in June, and Manny went to San Diego, signed a deal there, is Manny your everyday shortstop and you put Tatis at third? Or do you move Manny to third? Now, I already know what I would do. If I was Andy Green, it wouldn't even be a question. Manny would be at third, Tatis would be at short, Luis Urias would be at second, and Eric Hosmer would be at first. This doesn't seem hard. It doesn't seem hard to wrap my head around, but it's very complicated. It's very complicated. Anyway, I think Manny is going to Manny's going to do what Manny's going to do. He's going to do what's best for him. He's going to do what's best for his wife. He's going to do what's best for his family. So we will see. We will see. Anyway, enough talk about Manny. Let's go to the other biggest free agent name on the market, Bryce Harper. Harper, just like Manny, is still unsigned. Now, I think for me, Harper would be a good fit in Philly. Now, and I don't think I'm being rational. Harper would make the Philadelphia Phillies ultimately division leaders and even possibly World Series champions. The Phillies are good, people. Rhys Hoskins is moving back at first base, which we all know the Carlos Santana deal was a mistake. It was just the Philadelphia Phillies did a uh-oh. They cleaned it up. They traded him away. Now you put Rhys back at first where he belongs, and then you go sign Andrew McCutchen. You get Andrew McCutchen for 3 years. Good, solid veteran. You put McCutchen in left. You got Odubel Herrera in center. But currently, the Phillies have Nick Williams in right. Nick Williams. And don't get me wrong, Nick Williams can rake, especially against righties. He's a big, strong lefty bat. But listen to this. Would you rather have an outfield consisting of Andrew McCutchen, Odubel Herrera, and Nick Williams? Or would you rather have an outfield of Andrew McCutchen, Odubel Herrera, and Bryce Harper? I know what I would choose. It just seems so much more of a fit for Bryce to go to Philly than for Manny to go to Philly. If Manny goes to Philly, then what are you going to do with Maikel Franco? There's no DH in the National League, which we can talk about in another episode, but there's no DH in the National League. So you can't put him there. So you're just going to put him on the bench? Trade him? I don't think so. Bryce Harper is a better fit in Philadelphia than Manny Machado is. By far. It's not even a question. And what makes Bryce to Philly, it makes more sense for him to go there than to say even the Yankees. I mean, I think the Yankees have more of a need for Bryce Harper than Manny Machado, but I still don't think Harper to New York would make much sense either because the Yankees outfield is stacked. I mean, you got Judge, Stanton, Hicks, Gardner, Clint Frazier. You still have Jacoby Ellsbury. So you can't put him in the outfield. Your DH is clogged up from Giancarlo Stanton. He'll probably be the everyday DH for the Yankees. So then you say, "Oh, well, it's okay. We'll just move Harper to first." Well, no, you can't do that either. What are you going to do with Luke Voit and Greg Bird? You going to trade them away too? It's the Phillies make the most sense for Bryce Harper. They said when the season ended last year that they were going to spend stupid money. They haven't done it yet. They've spent some money. They just re-signed Aaron Nola to a 4-year extension worth $45 million. Fairly cheap if you ask me. Good solid deal for the Phillies. You trade for Gene Segura. You signed McCutchen, which still isn't crazy money. Crazy, stupid money. You get David Robertson, which was actually one of my favorite moves of the offseason, to be honest with you. They don't really have a set closer. So David Robertson could fill that gap for you. He'll be that tough late relief pitcher that the Phillies needed. But other than that, the Phillies really haven't spent crazy, stupid money like they said. So why not do it? Why not start? Go get Bryce Harper. Offer him 10 years, $300 million plus. Entice him to want to be there. It just makes so much sense to me. And I hope I'm not crazy for saying this, but it makes the most sense for me for Harper to go there than any other team in the major leagues. It makes the most sense. And then you have the Giants. Let's move on to the San Francisco Giants. They had a meeting with Harper last week, but they don't want to sign him long term. They wanted to do a short end deal, let's say 2 to 4 years for Harper. I don't think Bryce Harper wants that. In fact, I know he doesn't want that because he and his agent have said that they aren't even considering a short-term deal. So to me, that means the Giants are out. To me, that means the Giants are out. They're not going to offer him the 10 years he wants. So they're out. So basically, pretty much means that the Phillies and the Nationals, and maybe even the Padres have said that if they get Harper, it'll bring in more revenue for them. It would give them the big dollars, the T-shirt sales, the merchandise. It would bring that, and then they would also have a star player coming up in their rebuild. But I really think the front runners are the Phillies and the Nationals. Why would Bryce Harper sign a short-term deal with San Francisco when the Washington Nationals offered him 10 years, $300 million? Why would he accept a short-term deal? It just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't. I can guarantee you that the Phillies would be the front runners in the division in the NL East if they get Bryce Harper. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what comes of it. They'll sign sooner or later. I know spring training started. Last year, Jake Arrieta didn't sign until the third week of spring training. So they're going to sign and they're going to get their money. That's just, it's a fact. They're going to get their money. We just have to play the waiting game on them. That's all it is. Moving on to other news. It was announced yesterday on Valentine's Day that the New York Yankees have offered Luis Severino, who is pretty much their ace at the moment. They announced that they have signed Luis Severino to a 4-year contract extension, which would avoid arbitration and includes a club option for the 2023 season. Severino is guaranteed $40 million, and he'll make about $52 million if the option is exercised. Yankees manager Aaron Boone says, and I quote, "He's a great pitcher, and I hope he's here for a long time. That would be my hope. I'm excited to get him back in camp, hopefully tomorrow. I miss seeing him out there." End quote. I think this is a great move for the Yankees. Severino has been a godsend to them. He's gotten them to the postseason. He's gotten them through the wild card games, especially that wild card game last year against the Oakland A's. He's their ace. Like I said, he's their ace. He is their best starting pitcher. The rotation got better this offseason. They had Severino. They had Masahiro Tanaka. They traded for James Paxton. They gave up their number one pitching prospect for Paxton in Justice Sheffield. Their rotation's better. Their rotation's much better than it was last year. Do I think it's better than Boston's? Probably not. Probably not. When we're comparing New York and Boston pitching-wise, Boston has the better starting rotation. New York has the better bullpen. But the Yankees extending Severino for 4 more years and possibly 5, it gives them a little bit more certainty for the future. Severino is going to be good. He's probably going to be one of the best in the game, if not the best in the game in the next couple years. Solid right-hander. He's expected to start the season opener on March 28th against the Orioles in New York. He's probably going to start the first game of whatever postseason mark they'll be in, whether it be the wild card or the division series. He's going to be their number one guy. He's going to be their number one guy. And it shows that he has the stuff. He's come in clutch for them. So it's a good deal all around. I think the money was at a right spot, $10 million a year. I think that's pretty reasonable for both sides. I feel happy for Severino knowing that he's going to have certainty going into the next few years. This is just an all-around good deal for the Yankees and Severino. So the Yankees know they're going to be contending with the Red Sox for the division. And they make a move like this, and they make all the moves they did during the offseason, the trades, and signing Tulo for close to nothing. But anyway, good deal all around. I like it. Moving on to what I would consider the third best position player in the free agent market. After, of course, Bryce Harper and Manny Machado. I'm talking about Mike Moustakas. Have we baseball fans forgotten about Mike Moustakas? I mean, come on. Mike Moustakas has hit 66 home runs in the past 2 seasons. Only Nolan Arenado, Jose Ramirez, and Manny Machado have hit more among players with at least 50% of games at third base. He's only 30 years old. He's still got it. He's still in his prime. This is the second straight offseason for Moustakas being in free agency. To me, if I'm being honest with everybody, the Brewers are still the best fit for Mike Moustakas. I was talking about earlier how Bryce Harper is the best fit for the Phillies. The Brewers are the best fit for Mike Moustakas. The Brewers traded for him at the trade deadline last season, and it worked out. They shifted Travis Shaw from third to second. And it was just all around a good fit. A good atmosphere. It made their lineup better and helped them get to where they were in the postseason. Obviously, they couldn't get past the Dodgers, who, by the way, had Manny Machado. So a reunion for the Brewers and Moustakas just makes so much sense. But there's another team in the mix. There was a tweet from John Heyman, who covers all the breaking news for Major League Baseball. And he says that the Los Angeles Angels are a new team in on Mike Moustakas. And he also says that the Brewers and possibly the Padres and the Phillies are other possibilities. But I think for more the Phillies line, and maybe even the Padres, that if they don't get a big superstar like Bryce or Manny, they'll fall back on Mike Moustakas, and I think that's why he hasn't signed yet. But the Angels are one of those teams for me where, and it's just like San Francisco. Same thing for me in San Francisco. The same thoughts I have for them are the same thoughts I have for the Los Angeles Angels. Are you going to rebuild or are you going to add? What are you doing? What are you doing with the team? Last year, the Angels got Zach Cozart, Ian Kinsler. I thought that they were going to make a push. I thought they could be a wild card team. I did not think they would beat Houston, by far. Houston's going to win the division. I knew that from the start. But I thought the Angels could make a push. But right around the All-Star break, they realized that they weren't going to be able to do that this season. So what do? They trade Ian Kinsler to the Red Sox. They trade Martin Maldonado to their division rival, Houston Astros, by the way. They get rid of some of their key players. So for them to get a player like Mike Moustakas shows me that they don't want to fully rebuild. They want to add. So if they do end up getting Mike Moustakas, that would put him obviously at third. They got Andrelton Simmons at short, who's, in my opinion, the best defensive shortstop in the game. Which means Zach Cozart would probably go to second base. And then you're going to have either Justin Bour, who they just signed this past offseason, back in December. You're going to have either Justin Bour or Albert Pujols at first. I don't think the Angels are the best team in the AL West. In fact, I think they're probably the third best. I think Houston and Oakland are ahead of them. But the thing that the Angels need to do is they need to get starting pitching. It's been their downfall for the last Lord knows how many seasons. They could do it. They could make a wild card spot. They really could. If they just have some good, decent starting pitching. And they've addressed their starting rotation this offseason by signing Matt Harvey and Trevor Cahill. But is it good enough? Probably not. Probably not. If I was the Angels, if I'm truly not going to rebuild, I would get Mike Moustakas or make a push for him at least. And then I would go out and sign somebody like a Dallas Keuchel to be my number one guy, to bolster my starting rotation. You guys have the best player in baseball. You have Mike Trout. Don't waste him. Don't waste him. Go to the playoffs. Go to the World Series before you could possibly lose Mike Trout. Anyway, but I think Mike Moustakas is a better fit in Milwaukee. I think Travis Shaw will just have to suck it up and move to second base if this reunion happens. Because, again, National League doesn't have designated hitter, which that would solve everything. But that's a topic for another time. You could have just moved Shaw to DH. But I think a reunion for the Brewers and Mike Moustakas is really just inevitable, and I think it should happen. It just makes the most sense. I think the Brewers are a better team if they get Mike Moustakas. They're going to be division contenders. They might even win the division again like they did last year. But now that the Reds are building, the Pirates got some pieces, and you know the Cubs and the Cardinals are going to be competing, you can make a push for Mike Moustakas, Milwaukee. Make a push. Sign him. he automatically makes your team better. So Mike Moustakas, still free agent. I think he's going to go back to the Brewers, but we will see. It just makes sense. And just like Bryce Harper to Philly, Moustakas to Milwaukee makes sense. Now we'll go to some free agent signings over the past few days. First of all, today, the Giants announced that they have signed Yangervis Solarte, versatile switch-hitting utility player, to a minor league contract with an invite to spring training. The goal for the Giants and Solarte, I think I heard this somewhere, but I'm not quite sure. I think the Giants want to put Solarte in left field. He hasn't played left since, I believe, 2014. The Giants are in desperate need of some outfielders. Hunter Pence going to the Rangers. They signed Gerardo Parra to a minor league deal the other day. So I think their goal is they're gonna try Solarte in left because they have Evan Longoria currently at third. And if something ever happens to Longoria, if he gets hurt and gets put on the injured list, which is now not the disabled list, it's called the injured list, which don't even get me started on that. If Longoria ever goes on the injured list, they could put Solarte there and fill in that gap. Switch hitter. He has a very low strikeout rate. He was with the Blue Jays last season. It's a very low-risk sign for the Giants, which could work out for them. It's a minor league deal, so it doesn't cost too much. I think it said $1.75 million. Very low-risk move. I think it could work. We will see. Good for Yangervis. Hopefully he has a good season for San Francisco. In other news, a reliever was just taken off the market by the name of Xavier Cedeno. The Chicago Cubs have reportedly signed him to a minor league deal. The Cubs this offseason are bolstering their bullpen with this signing of Cedeno. They've also signed Brad Brock to fill in their gaps. I think they focused on this a little last year when they got Steve Cishek. They have Pedro Strop, Carl Edwards, Brandon Morrow they got last year. Now they're trying to bolster. They lost Jesse Chavez, who they traded for last year. Chavez signed with the Rangers for 2 years. Again, I think this is a very low-risk move for the Cubs. Cedeno's 32. He went 2-0 with a 2.43 ERA last year with the White Sox and the Brewers. It'll be his sixth team in his career. Lefty, he's a southpaw. I don't know if they'll use him as a lefty specialist. I don't really know what role he's going to be in, but I can guarantee you that when Brandon Morrow comes back healthy, he'll most likely be their closer. And I think Brad Brock's going to be somewhere like a setup man, and maybe even Pedro Strop or Carl Edwards, but I don't think Xavier Cedeno is going to be in towards the end of the game. I think he'll be kind of not necessarily a long relief, but he'll be the person who will give you some solid innings. Again, like I said, very low risk. good sign, I think. The Cubs' starting rotation is solid. I would take John Lester, Yu Darvish, Cole Hamels, Jose Quintana, and Mike Montgomery any day. I just think their bullpen needed help, and they got what they wanted. At a very low price, too, I might add. Very low price. Cubs have been kind of quiet this offseason, so it's good to see some action from them. The free agents that are left: Harper, Machado, Moustakas, Dallas Keuchel, Craig Kimbrell, all would help a team wherever they go. And I read somewhere the other day that there are almost 100 free agents out there still, unsigned. Which totally baffles me, considering the time of the year it is. Spring training's here, folks. It's here. Pitchers and catchers have reported. Position players are reporting soon. It's here. My stepfather gave me an idea of his the other day, which I'm in favor for. To be honest with you, I'm in favor for. I think there should be a deadline, just like the trade deadline in July, where free agents have to sign before that deadline, or they would not play that season. And I think that deadline should be around, I don't know, probably February 1st. I think that's pretty reasonable. From the day after the World Series to February 1st, if you do not have a team, you will not play for that season. That seems pretty reasonable to me. That would stop the mass of free agency for sure. Machado and Harper would already be signed and working out with their clubs. It would make things a lot easier, I think. But I'll talk more in depth about that in another episode. I'm thinking I might do some ideas of rules and rule changes and things like that one episode. Talking about universal DH in both leagues. It's been rumored that pitchers must face at least 3 batters before exiting. And now, what I just told you about a free agency deadline, I mean, we could talk about that in another episode. Anyway, I think that would ultimately help Major League Baseball and give teams and players more certainty going into their seasons. Without a doubt. If I was a free agent right now, I would be worried about where I was going to go. Am I going to Arizona or am I going to Florida? I would want to know. I would want to know even before now. I would want to know about mid-January where I was going to be. If not, I would be worried. I would be concerned. But the free agents want to get what they deserve, according to them. They want the money, and they want to find the right place. Anyway, I want to thank you all for listening. This is something new to me. I've always wanted to do something like this. I'm just talking about what I love. I love Major League Baseball. It is a passion of mine. I want to share my ideas and my thoughts and my opinions with all of you. And this is a perfect way to just get everything off of my chest, have all my thoughts on the table, and for you, the listeners, to get some insight on what's going on. Like I said, this will not be the last episode. I hope you all will continue to listen. I'm not going anywhere. I'm doing what I love. And I'm proud of what I'm doing. This is just something I came up with earlier today, and I thought I'd go through with it. And I think it turned out well. I really did. I really do. I think this is going to be something I'm going to be talking about and doing quite frequently with your support. I thank you all very much for listening. If you have a question or a topic to talk about with me, please let me know. Message me on Facebook. I actually run MLB News. I have a news Facebook page and I have a news Twitter page. Both called MLB News by Jared Watson. Easy to find. My name is spelled Jared. A lot of people call it Jared, like Jerrod or Jarred, but no, it's Jared. Simple. MLB News by Jared Watson on Facebook and Twitter. I cover all breaking signings, breaking news, free agent signings, trades. I cover it all. On and off season. So if you would give that a follow, I would really appreciate it. And I'm going to be continuing doing these podcasts. Don't know a time frame, if it's going to be a weekly thing, if it's going to be one day a week. I might do back-to-back days a week, and then I won't do one for another 2 weeks. We'll see what happens. But I'm going to continue doing it one way or another. So yeah, I thank you all very much for listening. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Maybe we'll have something to talk about next time. Maybe a Bryce Harper or a Manny Machado signing. We will never know. But all I know is that spring training is upon us and baseball is back. Thank you very much. I'm your host, Jared Watson, signing off.